I'm a bit nervous because I usually teach hypnosis to kinksters, and today I'm going to teach kink to hypnotists, which is quite different. But I'm here. I'm a sex worker, a kinky escort, specializing in all kinds of interesting things. And one of those interesting things is hypnosis. So I do hypnosis sessions with my clients. I record audio files for my clients to listen to. And I also do online play sessions. I've been doing in-person sessions for about 15 to 20 years. And actually the way I came into contact with hypnosis was through kink. So I was doing my master's thesis in Australia at the University of Queensland in physics, so a totally different field, but it was quite difficult to concentrate and to focus on things because there were pelicans on lampposts, and there were also the Gold Coast beaches, and there was this little fetish club that I loved to attend. They have the club lights like every weekend. And one of those weekends, one of my play partners asked me if I'd ever been hypnotized. I was like, no, but I'm open to a lot of things. So he asked me if I wanted to try, and I did. And he told me to relax, and I did. And then he told me that afterwards he'd say a word, and if I heard that word, I'd feel compelled to kiss him. And that was, I think, 2 days later when we were out for dinner, and he said that word. It was carrot. And he asked me if I wanted to kiss a carrot, and I was like, no, but I'd really like to kiss him now. And I had no idea if I said that or wanted that because of the hypnosis or because I found him quite kissable. So I did have an epiphany later when we did a hypnosis session, me sitting on his bed at home in his bedroom, and his girlfriend got a jealousy fit and wanted to rather go visit a friend than watch us play. So he asked me where car keys were because my car was in front of their carport. And I was sitting there on the bed, staring at the wall and saying, well, they're in my pocket. Which pocket? Well, my coat pocket. Okay, where's your coat? Oh, well, it's right at the door. And I was just watching this blank space and totally unconcerned, which I hope I would otherwise have reacted differently because she was my friend too. So, but she did leave, and we did play, and we had a lot of fun, and everything worked out for two of them as well. So something was different. Some things got really intense, and after a while, I got pretty hooked on doing hypnotic erotic play. So the bad thing is that after I came home to Germany, after that 1.5 years that I spent there, nobody had ever heard of erotic hypnosis. That was in the year 2000 when I came back. And I really wanted to continue playing with that and also switch. That means I like hypnotizing, I like being hypnotized, I like being a dominant and a submissive person in BDSM play. And so I started to read books on hypnotherapy. I started to read books on stage hypnosis and developed my own style and started playing with people. But then I also wanted other people to hypnotize me and play with me, so I started doing workshops and teaching others hypnosis. And I got a bit of a reputation in that in pretty much the German-speaking parts of Europe because people were getting more and more interested in that and wanted to learn and improve from there. And yeah, I did still have a lot of fun. I'm still having a lot of fun with that. And over the pandemic, that all started to go virtual. So I had live streams with a couple of thousand people all the different times from here. It's really, really cool. World domination. Because really in kink, this is the place where all those mind control fantasies are still very, very welcome. The old school tropes of pocket touches and spirals and moving because I say so. It's consensual and it's welcome for people who are into mind control kink. Not all erotic hypnosis involves power exchange, not all erotic hypnosis is mind control kink, but it's a huge part. So, yeah, what is erotic hypnosis? Going into that, why should you even care? I mean, sexual desire is a huge driver of human motivation, of human behavior, and maybe some of you are interested what they can do themselves in their spare time with erotic hypnosis. You can do erotic hypnosis as self-hypnosis, so it's something you don't even need a partner for, but of course it's also awesome to spice up your life, kink life with a partner. Your bedroom skills might increase, who knows? And maybe some of you are even interested in doing this professionally. There is some money to be made in erotic hypnosis as a professional provider, but I also have a few caveats for those, and I'm going to talk about that as well. Right, so what's motivation for erotic hypnosis? Why are people doing that at all? One thing is definitely this mind control trope. So people are into dominance and submission, into consensual power exchange. And of course you can still frame hypnosis the way it was framed like the last 200 years at least, if not longer. Like the hypnotist doing something to the hypnotee, and the power lying within the hypnotist, and the hypnotic subject submitting to that power of the hypnotist. And it's fun to play with that if it's consensual, and to have a hand move involuntary, but being moved really by the other person, being moved by the hypnotist. And this is also awesome for long distance play, by the way. If any of you are in long distance relationships, it's fun to have your partner's hand move by your control and feeling as if it was in your hand. So it's a wonderful thing to love and to do. Another thing is just increasing intimacy within couples or within play partners. I mean, I think Freud was to be told that, was told to be said, saying that he dropped hypnosis. One of the reasons he wasn't supposed to be a really good hypnotist either, but one of the reasons why he was supposed to drop hypnosis was because it was creating too much intimacy and sexual tension. Freud was always about sexual tension, but hypnosis also created too much sexual tension between hypnotist and client. So he thought it was inappropriate, but it's definitely very appropriate to cherish that sexual tension and that intimacy in the bedroom. Yeah, another thing, that's the point that I wrote down here. Yeah, evoking sexual trances at all. Good sex happens in kind of trance space. You're involved, you're really engulfed, you are being sexual, you don't think about your shopping lists, you don't think about any decorations of the ceiling that should be happening or not. Finding those trances, I mean, trance is also a hypnotic phenomenon, so you can use hypnotic ritual to access those erotic trances, those sexual trances. You can intensify them, you can take over a natural occurring sexual trance and use the power of suggestion to make other things happen. You can have seamless transitions from hypnotic language to dirty talk and back. And there's so many things that can be suggestions, verbal, non-verbal suggestions. Touch is a huge thing. Probably not many of you who are hypnotherapists are touching their clients. I'm touching my clients a lot. When I start a session, I often blindfold somebody, tie their hands behind their back, and lead them on a collar and leash, lead them into the playroom. And this is an induction into a submissive mindset, into an altered reality. So I'm of the firm belief that everything is hypnosis, and definitely a lot of the things that we do in BDSM and kink is hypnosis anyway. I've had a lot of those discussions within the kink spaces, if hypnosis isn't that dangerous, aren't you playing with people's minds, can't you do damage? And I think it's rather a tool to make kink safer, because when we play with those spaces, when we tie people up, people go into different headspaces anyway. They go nonverbal, they might only be able to communicate with the outside world through their dominant partner in that moment, because they might regress spontaneously, because a lot of what we play there is childlike behaviors or spaces, especially when we play with power exchange. And when all that happens anyway, then it's a good thing to have more tools to be able to influence those spaces. And for instance, to be able to tell a person that went non-verbal that you can in fact talk because I tell you to, and now you tell me how you are at that moment, and if you need anything, you feel safe. Yeah, of course, facilitate other kinks is also something that is great to be done with hypnosis. Starting from things that you might just intensify with hypnosis. If you play with pain, playing with pain threshold might really be fun. So you can get intense emotions without getting as much physical damage, if that is what you like. So some people are into flogging and whipping and really doing stuff that causes pain that might also cause physical harm or physical damage, and you can increase the fun you can have with that with less physical consequences if you want to. And of course there are some kinks that can't really be done safely or at all in real life. There are kinks like fear play, for instance, probably due to excitation transfer. A lot of people, a lot of kinksters, eroticize fear or fetishize fear, and you don't really want to go into dangerous situations. Of course, you want to reduce risk. You want to be able to enjoy your kink in a safe space, and so hypnotic suggestion can really help to increase that feeling of really being, I don't know, abducted by some psychopath, but you really aren't. You are safe in your bedroom, but you might not know that your partner is really your partner. Maybe in the back of your mind there's still that little voice that knows the truth or that knows the reality and that knows that you are really safe, that you can let yourself sink safely and comfortably in really, really intense emotions. And there are a couple of kinks that can't be done realistically at all. Like, for instance, if you are into alien abductions, hard to do that, but with erotic hypnosis you can. Yeah, how do we do that? Or what does that look like? What does an erotic hypnosis session look like? There are quite a few ways to play with hypnosis in kink. One of them is basically guided imagination, like what you'd see sold as a guided meditation often, which really isn't in a way, but you're not guiding the client over a field of flowers, but through a dungeon or in a swingers club or in a Roman orgy to different timing spaces and places where those wonderful feelings can take place and can happen. But also another thing you can also create those trances really interactively. So it doesn't only have to be the hypnotist telling the story to the hypnotee, who's then the star of the story, but you can develop those stories together, and then you really get both into talking, and you have like a dirty talk dialogue, and people telling each other about their fantasies and really getting turned on to the process, of course. And there's also this element of intimacy again. that if you create a hypnotic ritual around that, it's kind of a container, a kind of safe space to explore and also express your fantasies and to share them with your partner, to get talking, which is pretty amazing. Sometimes it feels like when I hypnotize somebody who's telling me more about what's going on in their mind than me telling them what to feel or to hear or to sense. It's like playing like point-and-click adventure computer game in their mind, and I'm talking about or they're telling me which they're seeing the places they are in, and I'm just asking them, well, can you open this door, and what happens if you explore now this way this new path, and it's a playful and fun way to create stories together, and that doesn't always have to be sexual, but it can be. So it's really great. Another way we play with erotic hypnosis would be waking trances, classical things that you'd see at stage shows usually, where people are not clucking like ducks, chickens, clucking like chickens, or quacking like ducks, but they are in a different role, in a role that feels erotic to them, that feels sensual and sexual to them. So you can do really deep and immersive role play that way without having to think about, well, do I have the right clothes, do I have the right circumstances, the right surroundings, or do I need to get expensive props? No, it's all in your mind, and it feels really, really real for the person. I know I've been you can do something like put a virtual reality overlay over the real world. Like I've been in a nightclub, just regular music style nightclub, and I've been hunted by vampires and trying to escape. Or I was there with a partner who told me that I don't know him, but I feel compelled to seduce him that night. I mean, what are you telling long-term couples? Try to get to know each other again, try to date each other again. What can be more powerful than really, really believing as much as deeply as you believe what hypnosis, that you don't know that person and that you are super fascinated and you really want to get to know that person now and want to seduce them and want to take them home. So that can be a lot of fun. You can have sex for the first time again and do a lot of first things again and again and again as often as you like. You can be super innocent and can go into all kinds of amazing role play spaces. Another way to play with erotic hypnosis or play with hypnosis and kink would be with post-hypnotic suggestions. Triggers are super they're really done a lot. Like snapping my fingers and somebody is feeling really aroused, or I'm snapping my finger and somebody freezes. This is also like hypnotic bondage is very popular. I mean, you get a full body catalepsy, for instance, and you can frame that as a person being in bondage, just bound and being helpless by the power of their own mind or by the power of the hypnotist, of course. And yeah, feeling wonderfully helpless. This is what they do. And one of the things that I really dream of often is walking across a party and snapping my fingers and everyone freezing. So I have a bit of mind control fantasies myself going on. I have like one trigger series I released, like audio files that implement post-hypnotic triggers. Like one of those is a freeze trigger, and I always fantasize about that scenario. Yeah, we do transformations, for instance. Gender play is really popular as well. Also, this is where I don't know if anyone of you heard of the infamous cis sissy hypnosis, which kind of got some reputation when people thought that this is turning men trance, and I have a bit of a problem with that in the community, with haters of DBLT, people claiming that hypnosis is the culprit of all that, causing the problems, which really isn't. It's usually people's, people's inner conflict, which then causes problems. And of course, if hypnosis is part of what lets people unleash their inner desires and listening to audio files, and either they themselves have conflict with that, or maybe their spouses do, then we get those stories of hypnosis or erotic hypnosis is evil, and erotic hypnosis is turning people into things or into mindsets they don't want to be. And that part of the community got quite a reputation playing with that. Quite often it's porn compilations with flashing images and flashing letters and being sold as hypnosis, but I mean it's just another form of suggestion. Right. So hypnosis can be done in recorded videos. It can be done over Zoom. There's a huge Discord community, or several Discord communities. There's of course in-person lunches, like meetings, kink, people meeting for kink, people meeting in play spaces, people are meeting for workshops. I think in every major city, at least in Germany, there are gatherings of hypnokinksters who want to teach each other and want to play. So that's it is a kink which is growing, and I'm working on that, growing even more. What else do we have? Yeah, it can have a lot of aspects. Maybe I'll just show you a clip and see if I can wake this thing up. You can create just. I'm going to show you one little clip of a colleague and a friend of mine hypnotizing me, doing some erotic hypnosis, so we're all clothed. It's not like a orgasm trigger, which is fun to play with it as well. I took about 2 years until I could orgasm on demand, like somebody snapping their fingers, or rather touching me on the forehead and saying the right word. I can come pretty much anywhere. So this was a superpower unleashed, because I can do that in self-hypnosis now too. It took me a while. So yeah, I'm going to show you, this is Trix, Imaginatrix from mesmerotic.net, and she is hypnotizing me, and it's just a little trailer of we do together. So it's hypnophone, but we are close, so we can get naughtier than that. But yeah, I found it. Thanks.
I'm feeling like putty in my hand, feeling all bit shape. And then opening your eyes, staring into the rain. Noticing the colors you can see, the way these colors are intensity with that hypnotic control. God, it exists in space. Perfect. Easy. Ease. Happening. Not choosing. Happy plan. Happy.
So as you can see, we play with all the cheesy tropes. So I was really imagining her eyes swirling. I can see that. It was amazing. And her eyes are amazing anyway, but especially when there are red circles going around. That was fun. And playing a bit with catalepsy, with hypnotic bondage, and yeah, all in all, having a lot of fun. I think we played it for about an hour or something. So got it all in video. Yeah. If you want to watch more hypnoporn, by the way, especially in English language, go to their website, it's mesmerotic.net. And the cool thing about that is they have all their negotiation videos for free, so you can see how we establish consent, which is really huge in the communities. This is something I really want to stress, that everything that happens in kink, and especially in Hypnokink, is consensual. It's sometimes it's talked about in detail, or often it's talked about in detail and negotiated in detail. Sometimes you will also have implied consent spaces where you basically know if you enter that space on a Discord server, that voice channel or whatever, prepare to be dropped by somebody or somebody trying mind control games on you. And then this is usually only recommended for people who have a good subject agency, as we call it. That's two sides of two sides of the coin. The one is suggestibility. We got a lot of people working on that suggestibility. They want to feel mind control. They really want to experience those intense hypnotic phenomena, and they are only like medium suggestible person, and so they're working on increasing the suggestibility. But of course, there are also quite a few people drawn into erotic hypnosis, into Hypnokink, that are highly hypnotizable people, and they often need to work on their agency, so their ability to resist suggestions if something comes up. This is always a very, very good skill to have. So especially if you're playing with strangers on the internet, but also if you are playing with established partners. I myself was once or twice in situations, even with partners that I knew. When I was just learning about hypnosis, I developed my suggestibility way faster than my subject agency. So I had a phase where I had a really hard time to resist suggestions because I was like in a frenzy and crazy, and it was just so much fun, and I wanted this to work. And of course, you can get into a conflict, into an ambivalence and a conflict between you want this hypnosis thing to work, you really are into Hypnokink, but on the other hand, somebody may say something, the person you trust may say something or give a suggestion that in that moment you really don't like, and then what's your subconscious mind, or what are you to do? You can either resist and shatter the illusion of hypnosis being so powerful that you can't resist, or on the other hand, being feeling uncomfortable because you didn't really want to have that suggestion in that moment. And I had my fair share of moments like that. And these days I have a really, really good flexibility, like cognitive flexibility. I can go super, super deep, super quickly, and be surprised by my own reactions to hypnosis. And on the other hand, if something really happens that I don't like, I can snap out of it immediately again. So that's a really big skill to have. And within the community, we put a lot of emphasis on educating hypnotists, educating subjects to be able to tend for themselves, but also, of course, not to shame people who can't for some reason, or can't yet, or not in a certain situation. So just recently there was a really intense online workshop by two people that were that made some really they were in an abusive relationship, in an abusive situation, and hypnosis was used to manipulate them. And if you say that you can't, or people don't do in hypnosis what they wouldn't otherwise do, or they don't want to do, this is always a bit dangerous territory, because there are all kinds of situations when people are doing things that they don't really like to do for all kinds of reasons. And the way I like to phrase it is rather that you can't manipulate people with hypnosis better than you can manipulate them otherwise if you want to. So it's not an inherently a safe thing to play with hypnosis, but it's not inherently more unsafe than other forms of communication and other forms of intense relation with people. All right. Do we have questions so far? Let's see. Anyone would like to? Yes, please.
In your experience, is there a lot of overlap between this field of hypnosis you're in and like the other field? Most of us are in like coaching, therapy. Are there many therapists moving into that field or the other way around, or is it two completely separate things?
Yeah, there is some overlap between the communities.
Sorry, could you repeat the question?
Yes, yes, of course. The question was, is there much overlap between the erotic hypnosis community and people who are doing hypnosis, or hypnotists who are hypnotherapists and hypnosis coaches? And in my experience, yes, there is, but often people are not admitting to one thing or the other. So, of course, if you are a hypnotherapist and you do not want to be accused to have sexual relations with your clients for good reasons, and so a lot of hypnotherapists keep quiet about being into Hypnokink unless they are with other kinksters. And then on the other hand, it's also not a good idea to do therapy with your play partners or with your sexual partners. So some hypnotherapists that are within the kink community don't say that they are therapists, because they don't want for people to come to them under the guise of play while really needing therapy. So even if there's overlap in person, those people usually do their best to try to keep those spaces separated. So, and for good reason, and that usually works quite well. So it's quite discouraged within the kink community to do therapy with your play partners, and I mean, not playing with your clients, therapy clients is of course definitely given. Yes.
How big is the Hypnokink community?
This is a very good question. How big is the Hypnokink community, was that question. I have no idea really. Internationally, there are pretty big conferences, especially in the US, but there are also a few smaller ones in the UK as well, and over the rest of Europe, not so much. But I mean, the cons are around 100-ish people, I'd say 100 to 200. But I've had live streams, like I'm a kink and sex educator for one of Germany's largest online swingers platforms or sex positive platforms. And during the height of the pandemic, when everybody was bored, we had several thousand people in those live streams teaching erotic hypnosis. So there's definitely interest. And otherwise, we have a lot of munches, a lot of gatherings, smaller workshops. Like we did our first in-person workshop again at the start of that year with 50 people that was sold out within a very short time frame. So that was just in Hamburg. So there is definitely an interest. All right, and I wanted to talk about possibilities of making money with erotic hypnosis. So this definitely can be done as well. Maybe it's of interest for some of you, but it does have some caveats. I mean, you're already having the stigma of hypnosis, of being inherently manipulative, and then you're adding to that the stigma of doing sex work. So, and you are a sex worker if you are an erotic hypnosis provider, no matter if you just record audio files on the side or if you are doing in-person sex sessions with your clients and having sex in trance and all those kind of things. So, I personally, for me, it was a great thing to do, but you must be aware of the sex stigma and that you are then basically a prostitute. And some people can deal with that and others can't. And the good luck finding a payment provider. It's already bad enough with hypnosis, and add sex to that, and the last one's drop out. Yeah, and especially, I mean, it's just like with hypnotherapy, it isn't enough to know hypnosis technique. You really have to be a good therapist to be successful in hypnotherapy. And it's the same thing with Hypnokink or doing professional Hypnokink. You first and foremost need to understand kink and need to understand the people you are playing with and the people you are producing content for. And it's much, much easier teaching hypnosis technique to established sex workers or kinksters to do Hypnokink than trying to teach kink and the motivations behind that to people who already know hypnosis from a different context. Yeah.
This is a Scottish accent, so you just need to tune your ears a little bit. From what I'm hearing, my point of view is it's like an educational process. You got all of us here in a hotel, and it seems like there's a jump a million miles away to a dark dungeon with masks and bats and whatever else. Do you think there is a middle ground where, just like we're doing here, we're educating people on being more of a sexual being using hypnosis? Do you think there's an area that exists, where that can exist in every town?
Yeah.
Where do you think it can be repackaged in different ways? Or
yeah, thanks for that question. That's a good one. If there's a middle ground between being in a dungeon and being tied up and talking about all those kinds of things, and which seems to be far removed from what we are doing here, or from many people's experiences probably. And yes, there is such a thing as vanilla erotic hypnosis, which is yeah. So that doesn't have to involve power exchange. That doesn't have to involve like whips and chains and dungeons and stuff. And this is probably one of the things that I do a lot when I teach within those sex-positive spaces. So people are already curious and people are already wanting to make new erotic experiences, but they are not necessarily being into hardcore kink. And this is also what I'm going to do, like a little group trance after the Q&A now, which will also be very, very mellow and very accessible for hopefully everyone who wants to try. So erotic hypnosis isn't hypnotherapy for sexual dysfunction. That is a different ball game. But even if you work with that kind of thing, like doing sexual freedom hypnosis or something like that, I think it also helps to know other aspects and other applications of hypnosis. And I mean, what hypnotherapists do when they work with sexual dysfunction is getting people from problem to like a satisfied state, and I like to take them from their everyday satisfaction into euphoria. But I mean, of course, it is some kind of gradual thing there. Does that answer your question, or is there more of a...
I've coached tennis players, but I don't play tennis.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering whether you can do a workshop without actually having visited a dungeon and
teaching or coaching tennis players without playing tennis and stuff. So yeah, I think first and foremost you really need to understand your target group. I think it depends on things. I think it depends on how open you are and how empathetic you are, and it depends on the goal of what you would like to teach people. If you really want to be a hypnokink provider, like
I mean, still respecting it, still appreciating it, but not being hardcore, I guess.
Yeah. There is definitely such a thing. Are you talking about leading people into erotic trances or educating about them something about that process?
I'm talking about like my local community centre
Yeah.
and advertising erotic hypnosis, but it's not like I'm not a sex worker.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna. Well, I've not decided yet, but
I mean, apparently you can talk about what kind of applications hypnosis has in that field. It depends on the kind of depth you want to go into, and of course you can focus on those aspects of creating intimacy and creating erotic flow and erotic trances, and helping partners to connect with each other by hypnotizing each other, helping them to get into the headspace they want to get in. This doesn't have to be like a dominant or a submissive headspace. This can just be, I've done a lot of trances or a lot of group hypnosis which just consisted of getting people from work space or work mood into play mood, and letting go of their everyday stresses and embracing intimacy. I've done inductions with couples that just consisted of focusing on each other. It's a bit like a guided mindfulness meditation, but with the focus being on the breathing and on the feeling and on how the skin of your partner feels and all that. So you don't have to go into the whips and chains, you can just focus on the intimacy aspect and on the finding your erotic headspace aspect, because this is obviously something a lot of people struggle with, also in established relationships, to be able to find that spark again, for instance. Then you do get into kind of a transition from erotic hypnosis to coaching. It can have that aspect. You just need to, erotic hypnosis and coaching can have some overlap. You just need to keep it away from therapy, I think.
thank you.
All right. Any more questions?
I've got one. if you
Yes,
don't mind.
please.
I know that you get very hands-on with your clients.
Yes.
Shall we say?
I love touching people.
Is that, yeah, but is that always necessary? The reason I'm asking is because obviously in a therapy setting, men generally shouldn't have a woman as a client on their own.
Yeah.
But it's dangerous territory, we know this. So how do we stand in terms of, can you do this stuff, but just verbally?
Yeah, I mean, of course you can do verbal erotic hypnosis, just verbal. That works well. I'm doing a lot of that, especially when I just record audio files. Apparently I'm not touching anyone. And I'm doing Zoom sessions where I'm also not touching anyone. Personally, I feel the most powerful erotic hypnosis, but I mean, it's the most powerful hypnosis anyway, I think, is when you combine as many ways of communication as possible, and touch is a way of communication. I often hypnotize people just by having my eyes closed and just keeping them in body contact with me. And
Interrupt you for a second.
yeah.
Because Samuel, you can hypnotise me anytime. Your voice is very hypnotic, can I tell you?
Yeah, or another thing that I love is I just watched or attended that the talk about rapid inductions, and I love having people flopping into my arms, or like here flopping into my chest. Like, oh, this is amazing. So yeah, but of course there is ways to do that just verbally, and it's a huge thing, and it's very much done for long distance relationships or long distance play, and there's a huge international community which never meets in person. They only do voice calls and even text hypnosis and video hypnosis. So absolutely, it's not a hindrance at all if you don't want to touch or can't or whatever for any reason at all.
Excuse me, I think there's a big role in couples therapy. So
Yeah.
we work with couples, and if there's that spark is missing in their relationship, or there's anxiety around something, or so you can work with that, and there's no like biological reason why there should be, then you can work with that, creating that romantic
creating
space.
that intimacy, yeah.
Sure.
That's where that
Yeah,
overlap with coaching
absolutely.
comes into play, I think. And it also depends on how you frame yourself. Of course, you can frame yourself as a facilitator only for the experience for another person. It's the same thing. If I just record an audio, I can be the guide and guide them into a fantasy where they are experiencing having sex with another person of their choosing, whatever. Or I can focus that whole thing on me and make myself be the center of their universe in that moment. And really bring me as a person into that trance, but that doesn't have to happen. So I've also, I'm playing a lot with couples that I just bring together and create intimacy between them. I mean, I don't know if any one of you has been in a strip club. You usually have the stripper have their full focus on you, and they look at you as if you've been the best thing since sliced bread. But if they do give lap dances to couples, which also happens, then the main thing they do is create that spark, but then direct them to each other if they're being good at their job. And so they ignite that fire, that tingles, but then make sure it's directed to somebody else and not to the sex worker themselves. All right, let's see, what's the time? That's good, we still have 15 minutes, and I think we're going to do a little experiment, a little group trance experiment. I'm going to take this off because I'm not going to talk quite quietly, and I need this for this program. So, what I'm going to do now is a little group trance where you can just go inside and access an erotic, tingly, lovely feeling, image. Keep that safe, increase it, maybe give you some ease of access the next time you would like to use that and play with it. But it will all be directed inward, so nobody needs to show any outward reaction to that, which I think is really important in that setting here. So this will all be your secret where you're going, visions and memory you are creating now. And yeah, for those who would like to, you can just close your eyes now for a moment and arrive in that space that you're in here. Take a deep breath and exhale. And then I could now ask you to think of an erotic memory or erotic vision that might not even be that easy here in that conference room. So let's start with thinking of a situation where you would usually have those erotic fantasies or memories. And no matter if you can picture things in your mind or if you just know that they're there, I'd like you to think of yourself being in a situation where you might want to think of erotic things. Maybe you're alone with another person. Maybe you're at home. Maybe you're at other spaces, other places where you like to think of sexual things. With lovely tingly feelings. Maybe you usually lie down when you do that. And I'd like you to think what it feels like to lie down. And to just let yourself relax and drift into that space where nothing else really matters and the thoughts come and go. And maybe you're still thinking thoughts and things that happened today or things that might happen later. Those thoughts can come and go and drift by like clouds in the sky where you're just relaxing and dreaming. And while you're sitting or lying there, thinking of things that might come and go, I would like you to think of a memory or a vision that is really essential to you. It feel erotic. It raises desire. It might be a fantasy that you often fantasize about, and this is one of the wonderful things about our minds. We can create those fantasies, maybe from things you experienced before, maybe from things you'd like to experience, things that just feel good when you think about them. And while you're creating that memory or that vision within your mind, just see for yourself if you're inside or outside, where the light comes from, what color the light is, and what colors dominate the scenery. In case you find it challenging to find a fantasy, just invent one as well. Invent details just as you go. Does the surface beneath you feel like in that vision of yours? Is your body relaxed? Where do you feel tension? What do you hear? Are the words being said that excite you? Are you saying words that excite you? Are you hearing, breathing, moaning? Where would you like to be touched now? Just the lights. Maybe you would like to do the touching, sensing, feeling things beneath your fingertips, slowly swirling, stroking. Is there a scent in the air, a taste on your lips? Do you feel breath on your skin? Are you holding or being held tight? And while you think those thoughts, you might feel those feelings emerging from a center within your body, center of those tingles, this warmth, center of your erotic energy, and you might feel that really, really deeply, that space. And if you like to, you can start moving it around a little bit. And if that feeling, tingling, warm sensation, heavy or floaty sensation, if it had a color, which color would it be? It might come naturally to you, or you can just invent one. And if it had a spin, which direction would it spin within you, emerging from that center, within your body, your mind? And if you would like to, you could now make that color brighter. Make that spin move a bit faster. All while sitting perfectly still and just breathing, because this is your secret. Nobody needs to know what's happening in your mind. Nobody needs to know that color that's flooding you, emerging from you. Nobody needs to know the direction of that spin within you, that center, that spiral, that vortex. And the center is touching you, stroking you, licking you, and it feels so wonderful.
increase that color, make it brighter, make it more intense. Until it merges from you and you become that color of your desire, that color of your arousal. And you might feel like the air around you spins in the direction of your desire and touches you and strokes you. Like breath on your skin, so close that it's almost a kiss. Know that this is your feeling, it's your color, it's emerging from within you. You don't need anyone to evoke this, but if you like to, you can grant somebody the ability to evoke this in you, but it's all really, really within you. You can access this whenever you like, just by closing your eyes. Thinking of that color, thinking of that spin, and letting it move within you. Letting yourself shine bright. Enjoying that feeling. And next time you're alone or in the kind of company that you enjoy those things, and you can just try it and evoke this feeling, intensify it if it's already igniting that spark, enjoying it. And having said that, you can now slowly, with the next exhale, let go of that lovely feeling, knowing deep inside yourself that you can evoke it in any time again if you'd like to. That you can go there anytime again to enjoy this feeling. That you now have a remote control for your right tingles, for your right spark. Play with it, have fun with it, whenever you like. And then it's time to come back in the here and now in a moment when I count from 1 to 5. Feeling absolutely wonderful. Keen on the rest of that confidence, taking this right spark with you so you can access it whenever you like. And 1, feeling more and more awake. 2, taking a deep breath and exhale. 3, coming more and more back, feeling more and more awake. 4, moving your hands, moving your feet, stretching a bit. And 5, opening your eyes.
So, thank you very much for trusting me and for granting me the ability to take you in that space. I'm around until Sunday night. I love chatting about erotic hypnosis. I love networking. If anyone has like a podcast or a YouTube channel, I'm happy chatting there as well. And yeah, have a wonderful, wonderful